All right, so welcome back to QuickBooks, guys. So here we're going to be diving into Chapter 5, Other Transactions and Bank Reconciliations, okay? Now, in this section here, they kind of jump from one file to another file to another file. I don't like that, so I'm going to teach it my way just to make it, keep it a little more simpler, a little more easier for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and show you something that I don't technically think it's that much of a big deal, but it is definitely something that is more active, I would say, commonly used today. And of course, in this book right here, they actually said that in 2020 QuickBooks program, they introduced what's called the Bank Feed Center. So this is actually brand spanking new. It's only a year old. So they're still working on trying to make it better. If you read through the book, it tells you there are a few things in this file that are way in the past. And that's because the one thing about bank feeds is it allows you to connect your actual bank account and use the online features to allow you to do online banking a lot more easier and a lot more quicker, okay? They allow you to attach all of that information into one file or into QuickBooks. So then instead of having to go into one bank account and going online to theirs and do all what you need to do and then log into another one, you can do it all in one page, okay? Now, of course, Intuit, or in this case, this Imagine Photography, they're not going to give us our bank information. They're not going to give us their credentials. They're not going to allow us to look at any of their sensible data because they are a legitimate company. They are a real company. All right, Questiva is a real company, okay? And they do have Imagine Photography. It's not just for school purposes only, okay? It's an actual legitimate real company that they created for the intent for students to learn, okay? So it is a real company. It's a real books. Now, of course, they can't give us any of that information because once again, it's a real bank account, and that's what you need to do to have in order for you to use bank feeds. Now, once again, I will tell you this is a personal thought. Now, the more you keep adding sensible data into QuickBooks, the more security you need to have on these files. Because if you don't and let anybody access these files, your possibilities of getting hacked, your bank account being hacked, your credit card, all your information can get stolen. And that's why it's so extremely important for you to safeguard your assets by, protecting them with really good passwords, okay? Now, of course, in this book, it's just showing you an example, but you definitely need to create a password that is unique, because if anybody can just come into your company and decide to say, I'm going to put iloveyou.com or 1234, anybody can have access to the file. And again, all your company's information is compromised. All of your vendors as well as your customers' information is compromised as well, and you can get sued, okay? Many people sue credit card companies for data breaches all the time, okay? And you definitely don't want to fall into that circle. So my recommendation is, I think you're better off not using QuickBooks to link too many things that have sensible data. So I would not recommend you to use bank feeds for the purpose of holding all your bank account information. But if it is for your business and you feel more comfortable with it, because QuickBooks does say they encrypt it, they're super secure, they are a huge company. They have a lot of access control and security along these kind of things. But it doesn't matter how much control or how much security you have. It's all about you releasing the data to Intuit. So with that being said, this is just a sample file. So here in the book, it says that there is a sample file that you can see for a small company. All right, and that's what I'm going to show you to do here because, like I've said, in order to activate bank feeds, you need to have all of the information, such as your bank account information, the actual website, and what bank you are banking with. So in this case, this is going to be an example file from the book. And there are two ways that you can go through it. Now, they customize their icon bar to make it look the way that they want to. So the bank feeds should be standard default on the icon bar. But the best way that you could go to it is going to go up to your banking on the menu bar, and you're going to click on bank feeds. Okay? And then you're going to click on Bank Feed Center. Now, this is what the Bank Feed Center looks like, okay? In your book, it tells you do not do any of these things because, once again, it's not an active data file, but everything you see here is dated back in the past, so you can't make any changes here on out, okay? But let's take a look. I just want to give you a brief overview of how you can use the bank feeds to your advantage if you trust Intuit to do your online banking. Okay.
Once you go to banking, Lynn, and then you go to bank feeds, where do we choose?
The Bank Feed Center. Okay, for you, you're on a different file because I told you to open Bank Rec. That's for the in class today, but this one is just a sample file.
Okay, so get out of this.
So in this one, you're not going to follow along with me.
Okay.
All right, because this is Bank Feeds 21. All right, if you wanted to see what the actual file looks like, you should be opening Bank Feeds 21. So that's what it says right here in your book. Like I said, I don't want to jump to too many different ones because it tells you to open Bank Reconciliation, then open Bank Feeds, and then go back to Bank Rec. I just want to do it all in one go. So in this case, I'm showing you this one first just because this one, they don't tell you to do anything in here.
Okay, so just watch you on this one.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is yes?
I am in a bank feed file and I don't have banking fee center. Bank feeds, yes, but no bank feed center.
Bank feeds where?
I go banking, bank feed, and then I don't have bank feed center.
Okay, go ahead and click it. It's going to tell you to enter in your bank information. If that's the case, then you're not in the right file.
Oh, I am in banking. Okay, thank you.
All right, so in that case, this is a sample file. It's for Bank Feeds 21, not Bank Reconciliation 21, okay? They're two different files. I'm just hopping forward because I don't want to have to open, close, okay? So in this case, I'm just showing you what I want to show you, and we're going to move on. Okay, so this is the Bank Feed Center. Okay, here gives you all the information on any credit card, bank account that you put in here. So as you can see, this company has entered in 3 different bank accounts. They put in their actual bank account at this bank right here, Anytime Bank. They have another one right here for their credit card, and they have one right here for the QuickBooks credit card. Okay, now of course it's just very similar to a lot of other centers, right? Once you click on the profile of each one, you have this little summary right here that gives you all of your banking information. Okay, now there's a few things that you can do. So as you do any transactions or that whether you charge a credit card, it should appear on here immediately. So it goes onto your online banking, and then it's gonna shoot QuickBooks a notification, and the notification is gonna be popped up right here where you have to click download transactions. Okay, so that is how you're able to match your books with the credit card statement instantly because you have this little feature right here that allows you to download all the transactions that happen during each account. So for example, you wrote a bunch of checks and you know for sure you're going to be having an NSF. The bank will know it. The QuickBooks will let the bank know. And you will let QuickBooks know by clicking on download transactions, okay? And that way, it makes it a lot more easier to continue on to go and complete your bank reconciliation, okay? Which we'll talk about in a few sections after this, okay? But that's it, right? It gives you pretty much good details on each bank account. You even have the option to choose, right? If you go ahead and click on create new, you have the option to even make online banking transfers, online banking payments. So you can even make a payment to your bank account card if you wanted to. You can use this methods instead of having to log on to the actual website itself. Here, I have 3 websites I could have to log into. I don't have to log into them because they're all here in this platform. And all your information is going to be saved here too. So once again, you could do online banking. You could pay. If you need to pay your credit card online, boom, right there. You could do it right here. You can even do transfer funds. So if you have a bank account to your savings account, you could do it right here. Okay? So there's a lot of cool, neat features that you can do when we are looking at using the bank feed section. So this is primarily geared towards for online banking, okay? But like I said, all of those pages basically teach you how to go from the express to the advanced settings. In this case, it's only relevant to you if you choose to use online banking. Now, if you don't, then you don't need it. And I'm telling you right now, as trustworthy as you think QuickBooks and Intuit can be, you never know. Anything can happen just because you're sending sensible data to an online person. Anybody can intercept it at any given time. So whether you do use the online feature, it's up to you. But you can definitely go ahead and read that section between the 179 to 183. If you want to read that section to learn more about how to use the banking information, this is the sample file that they provide to you in QuickBooks. Now, they do say do not do any of the actions, okay? It's only for viewing purposes only, okay? So I just wanted to go quickly over that. And then now I'm going to go ahead and close this because, once again, it's not super important if you're not the one that's going to be using it. In this case, we can't really do much just because we don't have the capabilities or the access to the bank account. So once again, I'm going to now dive right into, it says to now open up Bank Reconciliation 21. So I've already opened it, so I'm going to go ahead and do it this way so I don't have to download all the content again. Okay, so I think I missed, oh, there you go. So here it is, right? I've already opened the file, so I don't need to go through the whole update or anything like that. It's already good to go, okay? Now, for any reason that you are on the wrong full file, right? If you do end up clicking bank feeds, right? What's going to happen is you're going to get this little message bar right here saying, you'd like to set up your bank feed. Okay, then let's get started. And if you go ahead and click on learn more, skip, whatever, then it's going to take you to go and open up a bank account right here. And that's what you don't want because we don't have real information. And I would strongly, highly recommend you not to use your own information. Please, okay? You don't want other people to hack your information. So once again, you're going to get to this window to set up your bank feeds. And the first thing it's going to ask you is, what bank account are you, or what bank financial institute are you currently banking with? Or which one are you going to be entering information for? And it gives you the options here, but if it doesn't exist, then you would just type it in. So once again, National Bank doesn't even exist. Okay, so I typed in National Bank, but there's a whole bunch of them. And even if you were to enter something like that in there, it wouldn't get you anywhere. Let's just say, okay? Just because you don't have the banking information and the book doesn't give it to you. All right? So that's that section right there. So now that we are finally talked about the bank feed, so once again, that feature is new to QuickBooks for QuickBooks 2020. So once again, it is still continuing because, just seeing how it's just so much more easier to just do everything virtually or online. And it's true. It's so much more easier to do everything online nowadays instead of actually doing an actual, bank transfer manually, okay? All right. So now we are now coming back to chapter 5. Now, the first thing that we talk about in chapter 5 is going to be other bank transactions, okay? Now, in this case, what we're going to learn here is going to be how we're able to use QuickBooks in a way where it will help us, do other banking transactions. So a good example is if you want to transfer money from one account to another, okay? And that part is actually very easy, okay? So let's go ahead and follow along in the book. So, so everybody needs to be on page 179, okay? So this is what we're going to do. So if you want to just transfer money from one account to another, so let's say I want to have a savings account in my company. Pretty straightforward. I can do that by going up to the banking menu, and I'm going to click transfer funds, okay? Once I go click on transfer funds, that's the only way to get there. Now I need to fill in the information because now I need to transfer my bank to my bank, right? And in this case, it's only eligible to whatever bank account that you have. So this is a good way for in case you need to establish a petty cash fund, you can transfer money from your checking account to your petty cash fund. You could transfer money from your checking to your savings or vice versa. Maybe you need extra money, so you take savings and you could transfer it to your checking account. So again, the list is infinite, okay, on what you can do. But once again, you want to keep it within just the bank accounts because if you want to transfer from one account to another, you could just simply do a general journal. You don't need to use the bank to do that, okay? So I believe this bank transaction is for January 28th. Okay, January 28th of 2021. Okay, class is going to be overhead. Okay, why overhead? Overhead is going to be one of those terminologies that you will see whether it's in this class, but more predominantly in future or more, intermediate classes of accounting. You're more likely to see overhead expenses or overhead commissions, things like that. That's going to be considered something that you will learn in cost accounting. When you learn about labor cost, overhead cost, and et cetera, admin and salaries, admin and selling expense, okay? Now, this overhead is just another terminology to say this is for the overall organization, okay? It's not specifically for San Jose location or Walnut Creek location. This is for the overall company. And we're just going to put it in the class called overhead. All right, so this one is for both, okay, overhead. Okay, now the next thing is, what do you want to transfer from? We're going to transfer it from checking. So once again, I can select anything that has a register, but in this case, I definitely want to go from checking, okay? And then the next one is going to be to what account? And in this case, I'm going to say I'm going to transfer some money into savings, okay? Then the next step is going to be for what amount, okay? So right now it gives you your account balance, right? Right now I have $2,000 in my checking account and I only have $500 in my savings. So in this case, I'm going to transfer another $100, right? And I'm going to go ahead and indicate my memo here. So it says funds transfer. I'm going to change that and say this is my monthly savings. Okay, transfer. Okay, because maybe every month I'm going to start trying to save some money so then I can maybe afford a project in the future. All right, you could save for that. Another thing that you will see when we dive into chapter 10 and 11 is they do recommend you to open up another savings or banking account in QuickBooks, not in your actual bank account, in QuickBooks, to set up so then you have enough money to transfer for doing payroll. Okay, you always want to make sure that you set some money aside to guarantee that you are going to pay for your employees. All right, instead of writing a whole bunch of checks out and then you end up pulling too much money out of your checking account, you want to make sure that every single month you do a transfer to that separate checking account for payroll. Okay, because that's the goal, right? In order to run your business, you need to be able to pay the people who work there first. That's your priority. Okay, so there you go. I have everything here, and now I'm going to go hit save and close. Okay. Once you got that beep of approval, you can go ahead and take a look at that in your checking account. It's going to say that you did a bank transfer. It's going to say that you did a bank transfer from your checking to savings, or if anything, you could even toggle this and say, I want to check out my savings account. Okay, and it's going to show that you have increased it from 500 to 600. Okay, right here, 500 to 600, right? Because you did a transfer. Okay, it even says right there, transfer. All right. So that's how you can transfer from one bank account to another. Now you can also use this in a means of EFTs. That works just as well. But once again, that transfer money is primarily geared towards for you to just transfer money between bank accounts. Okay. So once again, great example: petty cash fund, a cash register, to your savings. Okay, and then the other one would be for payroll. All right. Any questions there? No?
No.
Okay, so now we are going to dive into this section where it's called, well, what do you do when you have to record a bounced check? Now, in this case, it happens, right? You'll have a handful of your customers that write faulty checks, right? And as sad as it is, it actually affects your company as well, because your bank is going to reject that check and it's going to charge you because you deposited a faulty check. Now, how does that work, or why does that work? I don't know, but it's because they tried to process it, and they're going to charge you a fee because they couldn't process it. So not only do you get charged, but the other person who wrote that check also gets charged themselves as well. So in this case, everybody loses in this situation. But however, what do you do when you have to record a faulty check? Well, here, let's take a look. So go ahead and be on page I think this is 176, bottom of 176. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and locate Mr. Bob Mason's payment. So he wrote us a faulty check for the $11.77 and $86. Okay? So you can either locate it through your received payments. They tell you to click on receive payments and then click on that back arrow. Now, that's because they know exactly that you just wrote that check or you just collected that check. However, if you just come in here for a random person, you can spend hours just clicking that arrow button, and you're going to have to locate that person, and it's going to take you pretty much a long time to find the right one. The best way to be able to find this would be going to your customer center, okay? If you know exactly who, because you should know, because your bank account's going to flag you for exactly who with the exact check number. I can locate Mr. Bob Mason and locate his payment right here for the 2526, which is for the 1177.86. So if I go ahead and double click that, there you go. I located the exact check for the 1177.86, and the person is Bob Mason. Okay. Now, there's only one way to record a bounced check, and that's going to be up at the window. Up at the very top of the window, you're going to see this little icon that says record bounced check. All right. Now, if I go ahead and click that, this is the only way to be able to access it because this is on a customer payment. If I go ahead and click that, all right, what's going to happen is you're going to get this window, and this window is pretty much going to tell you what you're going to do next. So in this case, right, how much did the bank charge you? They charged me $10 because he wrote a faulty check and I deposited. So the bank charged me $10, right? Where is that going to go to? I'm going to say it was a bank service charge fee. Yes, we know. And in this case, it is for the date of, I believe it is February 7, okay? And here we have it, bank service charges, and the class, once again, because he's from San Jose, that's the exact place you're going to say that this charge was made from, because it was from his check. Okay, if you did the services in San Jose, that's what it's there. You're going to say that this service charge was from San Jose location. Okay, so then the next question is going to be, how much are you going to be charging your customer, okay, for this faulty check? In this case, you are subjected to any amount that you'd like. Now, of course, you don't want to scare your customers because, once again, they must sign some contractual agreement in case they do make a fault on their payment. What is the number that you're going to charge them? You can't just charge them a random number and bill them and say, hey, because you wrote me a bad check, I'm charging you $100. No, it's whatever agreement that you have for your company policy. So in this case, I only want to profit 100%. So in this case, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to charge Mr. Bob Mason $20, right? $10 to cover my bank fee and $10 profit because I said I can. Because this wasn't my fault. This was the customer's fault. So by me saying that right here, and I say that I'm going to charge him $20, I'm going to go ahead and click next. So here, just pretty much telling you what's going on and what happened here, and this is what happened. And you're going to go ahead and click finish. Now you're going to get that beep of approval, and notice this. This is now flagged that this is a bounced check. Okay? Now what happens when you record that bounced check? The invoices get reversed. So now Mr. Bob Mason still owes me $11.77. Okay? So I'm going to close out real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to see what happened when I go ahead and click on Bob Mason once again. Okay, so here you go, Bob Mason. Okay, so then now when I pull up his information, he still owes me $11.77.86. But check this out. Additionally, I also charged him an additional $20. So now he owes me $11.97.86. Okay, because he understands that he faulted on a payment. So now he knows that he's agreeing to this late fee right here. Now, there are many chances that you can call in your vendor and beg them to not charge the late fee, and you can tell them, hey, I'm sorry for that, but how about this? Try depositing the check again and see if it works. So in this case, you're convincing the vendor to either take pity on you and just not charge you that fee. Yes, you can. You can go around it, and you can, especially if this person is a frequent customer or so on and so forth. But usually, or if it's like a first time payment, like ever in their entire life, they can understand. I set up my account wrong, I'm sorry. Things like that. They can waive it at any given time. But in this case, now Mr. Bob decides to send me another check. And he sends me a check on the 10th of February. Okay? And this time he writes me a check for $11.97.86. So by me typing it up here, right, automatically it's going to pick up saying, okay, he's paying for everything again. And this time his check is, I believe it's $25.83. Let's double check that real quick. Okay. So for check number, 2538 is the check number. So that's it. And then what you're going to do now is that you're going to now record this payment once again. Okay. All right. There you go. Beep of approval. All right. Any questions in regards to that? And now we have a pending deposit. Okay. And of course, our bank statement's going to be, under because, we got the check and we didn't receive that $11.77. Instead, we got that as a zero check because it was bounced. Now that Mr. Bob Mason sent us a new check, now this one is what's going to clear for the next round of checks, okay? Any questions?
I don't.
A case to come back at you, especially something as small as that, all right? So everything that you do, you make sure it goes through legal terms and company policies, okay? So that's what happens when you need to record a faulty check, okay, a bounced check. And we also got to take a look at how we were able to receive another check that that the customer understood what he did and he paid the additional $20 fee. Okay. Now this section down below here is just basically going to tell you what happens if you end up writing that faulty check. So oftentimes when you do something like that, you definitely want to make sure that you go ahead and call your vendor, because the person that's going to get notified that would be you, because your bank account will tell you, hey, yeah, you did an overdraft charge for this amount, and you're going to have to call up the vendor and you got to tell them these things, right? You either ask them to not fine you or to redeposit the money, and you go run and put money in the bank and tell them to redeposit it, or you can just say, oh, it's fine, rip up that check, I'll send you a new one. Most cases, you're more likely to write a new one. That's just the best way to go, just so then you don't end up having two checks floating around, and then the company that ends up putting in both of them, and your account gets double charged. You definitely don't want that to happen either. So the best rule of thumb is to void the check and just write them a brand new one. All right? But these are just scenarios that you could possibly do in case you do write your own bounced check. Okay? So once again, that was that section there. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and find the next one, which is the actual bank reconciliation itself. Okay, so let me see what page I need to be on. Okay, here you go, reconciling bank accounts. Okay, so on page number 188 here, is going to finally talk about the main core of chapter 5. Now, here is what a bank reconciliation is, okay? Now, oftentimes, when you're constantly using your bank account, the best rule of thumb is you definitely want to make sure that you have enough money in your bank account, as well as making sure that you don't ever overdraft or any reasons for that, right? You want to make sure that you protect your bank account as much as possible, right? Preventing from writing those faulty checks, right? Now, in this case, what a bank reconciliation does, it helps you keep track of your bank account, okay, or any transactions. So every time you write a check, you want to make sure and double check with your bank account that the check has cleared. Now, again, when we talk about how checks are written out, we also have to assume that once a check is written, the person who's on the receiving end of that check has a whole entire 6 months to deposit that check in their banking account. So that means you could be pending on them for 6 whole entire months until that check clears. So that's the best way for you to keep track of your information, is to also double check that it's making sure that that check has actually cleared into the system. Okay, and by doing so is that you'll get a bank statement at the end of every month. So that's why a bank reconciliation is always necessary at the end of every month, because you definitely want to make sure that when you start the next accounting period or accounting cycle, or in this case, the next month of business, you want to make sure you start off knowing the exact amount of money that you actually have in your bank account. Okay, so this is where you need to make sure before anything that you do, you need to make sure that you're going to start off with, your bank statement is number 1. 2, to make sure that all deposits, all cash have been sent in, your last check that you written out has been sent out. All of that is all cleared before you can even start your reconciliation, okay? Now, the bank reconciliation isn't the only account that you can reconcile, right? You can use a credit card, right? Because once again, your credit card statement is going to just tell you all the transactions that you charged your card for, but it's also going to list out any interest fees that you've been collecting on them, as well as any other means that you would collect on a credit card, okay? Maybe you had an advanced payment. That's going to charge you a huge percentage, right? Maybe they charge you a flat rate or a percentage, okay? So when we do that, we're going to have to compare with our books and QuickBooks to see if our credit card transactions match our statement. And that's how you're able to keep track of your bookkeeping very well, okay? Especially when we're dealing with, on the go. We don't have QuickBooks on the go, but you're charging your debit card left and right. That's why when you come back home and you're starting entering all this information in, it is key that this is why you do a bank reconciliation. So then you could see which transactions actually cleared and which ones hasn't. So once again, you could do it to any asset account, any credit card, current liability, any long-term liability, so any loans, right? You can keep track of payments of your loans. And then also any equity account. So if you, invested more money into your company, that's the reason why you would reconcile it, okay? Now, notice all this. All of those are going to be your permanent accounts, right? Or the ones that have registers, okay? Some kind of account balance that stays open at all times. And those are the ones that you can reconcile, okay? So before we go ahead and dive right in, let's go talk about how to reconcile. So first thing you guys need to please be on page 88 or 89, excuse me. Okay, so here is a copy of the bank statement. This is from National Bank, whatever it is called, National Bank, I think. And here they talk about, this is the checking thing here, and it tells you that this is the statement for January 31st of 2021. As you can see, it gives you a pretty much detailed of what you should know from your bank from when you started to what you are at the end of this date. So that what's the actual transaction that happened here. Now, as you know, right? We know for a fact that a lot of checks, because of that whole 2 to 3 business days or deposits too, we have to consider that in the contributing factor too. If we wrote a check out on January 31st, we guarantee that the person is not going to receive it that very same day and deposit into the bank the very same day, right? We have to assume it's going to take 2 to 3 days just to mail it out. And then the vendor, once they receive it, they don't have to cash it in right away. So that's what's important about understanding how checks work, is that we may write it and in our books we wrote it off. We calculated that the money's gone. But in the bank side, it's not going to reflect that, because the person who's holding onto that check is going to be responsible for when they deposit it. Okay? Other things that we'll notice is that you can tell your bank to collect some money for you. So if you do electronic funds transfers or online payments, they can collect some fees, some interest for you. They can also charge you for using their bank for anything. So if you're using them for printing out checks or just for running your business in general, they can easily charge you a simple service charge fee, okay? Now in this case, right on the left side here, we have all of the checks that we wrote, and we also have all the deposits that we made, okay? So that's what's pretty straightforward on a bank statement. And then now we can go ahead and move into QuickBooks and see how we're able to reconcile, okay? Now, again, the first rule of thumb here is you want to make sure that everything in your books is all deposited and all your checks are all cleared in your check register and been printed out and everything, right? You want to make sure all of those are done first. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to confirm that Mr. Bob Mason is in fact submitting his check-in to me, and I'm going to say that this was done on, since the check was given to me on February 20th, I'm going to make sure, or February 10, I'm going to say it was submitted February 10, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Close. So now that my deposits has been deposited, my checks have already been done, now there are two ways that you can reconcile your checking account, okay? First one is you could just click on the reconcile button right here on the home page. Okay? That's your first go-to. Second one will be on your banking menu bar. And then you're going to click on reconcile. So banking on the top of the menu bar, reconcile. Okay? And that's how you can start your reconciliation. So first things first, when we take a look at my reconciliation is, number one thing is making sure you are in the correct account that you're trying to reconcile. In this case, I'm reconciling my checking account, okay? The most two common ones that you will reconcile is going to be your bank account and your credit card, because you're always going to have a statement that's always going to be given to you at the end of every given month. Whereas other things that you have to produce reports for, that's going to kind of be the difference there, okay? So then now I'm in my checking account, and a few things I need to make sure is that my reconciliation is going to be as of January 31st. Now this one says 2019. In this case, I'm not doing for 2019. I am doing it for 2021. Okay, 21. All right, and this is what it should say. It should say that when you began your account, it should be for $14,384.50. This must match the same number on your bank reconciliation, okay? I'm sorry, your bank statement, okay? Your beginning balances must be identical for you to proceed. If it's different, you need to find out why, okay? You need to go locate the discrepancy first before anything. But in this case, they both match, right? On my bank statement, it says that the beginning balance is $14,384.50, and that's what it says in my reconciliation window. That is $14,384.50. Okay. Now this is where you need to have your ending balance match. In this case, my bank statement says that my ending balance is for now $54.24.92. Okay, $54.24.92 is what I need to reconcile my bank account for. Okay, I need to bring my books, my checking on my end in the QuickBooks. I need to bring it up to the value of $5,424.92. Right? This is what I want to match. Okay. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to enter in any statement charges or any interest that you've collected. So in this case, right, let's take a look at my statement one more time. What service charges was I charged for? So let's take a look. Okay, other withdrawals right here, service charges. I got one on January 31st, service charges for a total of $10. That was the NSF fee that Mr. Bob Mason faulted, that when we deposited his check, that was it right there, okay? So I'm going to go back to my bank reconciliation window, and I'm going to go ahead and say I got charged $10, okay? And it's as of the 31st of 2021, okay? So I just typed it in, and then I'm going to take my map and click on it, okay? There you go. Now, what account am I going to associate that with? This is bank service charges, okay? And once again, class, since I made it associated the other one, this is for the overall bank account. It's for overhead, okay? Now, the next thing is going to be interest. Let's take a look at my book. Okay, interest income right here. Interest earned. As of the 31st, I earned a total of $8.62. So that's what I'm going to type in here. $8.62. All right. And once again, this is for January 31st of the 21. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I stamp that. And now this account, since it's going to be considered income to me or revenue, okay, this is going to be considered interest income, right? This is what I earned. And once again, it's another overhead because we don't know whether it came from San Jose or whether it came from Walnut Creek. This is just an overall, especially when you're dealing with the bank. So then now I'm going to go ahead and click on that continue button. And this is where you need to match on your bank statement exactly what you need to match in your QuickBooks. Okay? So first things first is let's take a look at this window and what you can do, right? You can come up here and notice this, that you have a list of all of the checks and payments or deposits that you made. So in this case, right, I have the dates all here, the check numbers all here, the vendors and people who sorry, that's not it. Yes, the vendors and the people that I wrote them out to, as well as what those amounts are. And then on this side, it's going to be the date and what deposits I made. All right. Now here's a quick filter tool that you could use. It says right here, hide any transactions that are after the statement date. So that means anything that cleared after January 31st. it's not going to show up. So take a look at this. So if I go ahead and click this, boom, all of those February checks that you've written out have disappeared because they no longer exist, because I chose this feature to allow me to hide all my information that happened after January 31st. Right? So let's notice this at the very bottom of my window. You're going to notice that down here says that, well, you have your $10 service charge, you have your $8.62 interest earned, and then now you have your ending balance to be $54.24. But right now, you are negative $8,958.20 over. So that means whatever checks that you've written out, they haven't cleared in the bank yet. All right? So in this case, this is where we need to go ahead and take a look at our bank statement to see which ones have cleared and which ones that we can check mark off saying that they have cleared. So let's start off with the first thing here, which is going to be my my checks that I wrote. So here, the quickest way to do this is just to go ahead and verify how many checks have you written out. So in this, or how many checks have cleared. So in this case, I got 2, 4, 6 checks that have cleared. All right. Check number 325, 326, 327, 6001, 6003, and 6004. Okay. So I'm missing 6002, and that's it. Okay. So now that I recognize that those ones have for surely cleared, I'm going to go back to my bank reconciliation window, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to check mark all the ones that I saw on my bank statement that have cleared. So in this case, check number 325, yes, that has cleared. Check number 6006, I did not see that. Okay. Check number 326, yes. 327, yes. 6001, yes. 6003, and 6004. Okay. Now notice every time I check mark this, let's take a look. Now my amount of difference has changed. Now I'm below $4,000. All right. So every check mark that you do put on there, it starts calculating down below. Okay. And let's take a look. So that means I still have check number 328 available and check number 6006. And then I have 2 in between here that has no check information or anything here. Okay. Now let's take a look up here, right? So now we're going to take a look at our deposits that we've made. So let's take a look here. Deposits that have cleared are it's going to be, all right, deposit here. So I have a total of 3 deposits that cleared. One for $249, one for $19.50, and one for $1177.86. Okay, so 3 things have cleared. So let's go back to my window and let's check mark those off right here in the corner here. So let's see, the first one was the $249. There it was. Next was the $19.50. And the one after that is going to be the $11.77. Now notice this. Boom. Now I have $8,000 left pending. Okay, so now I jumped back up to negative $8,000. So let's go ahead and take a look at my statement real quick to see if I see anything else on here that is worth $8,000. Okay? And what do you know? I have an other withdrawal, which the owner transferred money. And guess what that amount is? It's exactly $8,000. So now I'm going to go to my window and I'm going to locate it. So let's see. There you go, right here. Nothing filled out, but it's for $8,000. And I'm going to check mark that. And let's take a look now at my balance. At the end, I'm at 0 balance. And therefore, My cleared amount was for 5,424 and 92 cents, which then my bank statement matches my current book information window. And that's how you complete a bank reconciliation. Okay? All right. Any questions there?
Yeah.
Okay? So that's just, reconciling the bank. Now for some reason, let's just say this 100 deposit, right? You guys remember that? This one was from the savings account, right? I don't know where that is. So right now, I am now over by $100, okay? Maybe because the bank doesn't recognize it just yet, just because maybe the 28th was a weekend. So it won't clear right away. So what you can do here is you can go ahead and click this modify button. And what you can do here is they give you two options, right? You can either undo the reconciliation, okay? That's only if your beginning balance does not match. Or you can actually go ahead and click on locate discrepancy. And then you're going to get this window here where you can run reports to search through the entire QuickBooks to find where that discrepancy lies. Okay? And it talks about that in the next couple of pages. It doesn't tell you what to do because, once again, if you do notice, check number 6002 and check that 6005, I believe, are missing. So you can run your discrepancy reports to see where did those checks go. Now, if you guys remember back then, 6003, we voided it, right? So if you did void it for any reason, it will show up on these discrepancy windows, okay? And discrepancy reports. Now, once again, you don't have to do this unless your account balances do not match. So I just click cancel, and when I do that, I'm going to uncheck that, maybe because the 28th was a weekend, okay? So so it didn't clear just yet. It's going to clear the next month. And once again, now that this is 0, that means we did our bank reconciliation correct, and I can go ahead and click that record reconciliation. Okay? Then you're going to get this window here that says, would you like to run a summary and detailed report? And that's where you could say, yes, I would want both of them, and click display. All right. So once again, there it is. Okay. Now you're getting all the information about what happened in your bank reconciliation. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Now, I go through this, and the reconciliation summary that's on page 193 and mine don't exactly match. That's only because we're practicing with this program, and I probably just don't have the right transactions from the previous chapter, right?
Most likely, but if you didn't do the previous exercise, then that could be a contributing factor. But once again, every single one should line up.
Yeah, because for page 193 for the reconciliation summary report, my total is different at the ending balance, and I noticed that it looks